Hey everyone, today I'm going to show you how to use the Poliigon library with 3D Studio Max and the Corona renderer. Now first things first, let's go to Poliigon.com and we're going to go to the free textures section. And this is where we're going to get some free materials that we can use for the scene. So the first one I'm going to get is the tiles. So just click this, and I'd recommend downloading the 4K version because that's what I'll be using. And also download this HDR Sky Cloudy map, probably 3 or 6K. And that's it. Okay, so jumping into 3D Studio Max, we can see we have a very simple scene here, just a plane and a sphere. Now, the first thing I want to do is load in my HDR map. So going up here to Rendering, go to Environment, and under the Environment Map tab, I'll just click this and go to Bitmap, and choose my HDR. Okay, so by default it says Enable Color Correction, but I actually don't want that. I'm just going to disable it and just leave the original image as is. So I will render this out, see how it looks. Okay, so you can see the HDR is immediately working. It's obviously still too dark right now. Deal with that later. Now I want to apply my tiles material to the sphere, so I'll open up the material editor. Just drag this onto the sphere, make sure it's applied. And I'm going to change this to a Corona material. So if you go down here to the Corona tab, just choose Corona material. Cool, so it's there now. Everything is laid out very logically. It's very similar to V-Ray in that respect. But I'm going to start by doing things a little backwards just to show you how it's going to work. So I'm going to load in the displacement map first. So I'll click this. Go to Bitmap, go to Tiles, and choose my displacement. So I'll go with the 16-bit displacement, because that's the better quality version. And let's render this out quickly, see how it looks. Okay, so you can only slightly see what's going on right now, and there's a couple reasons for that. Partly it's because of the darkness, but what I'm going to do is turn the reflection all the way here. It's already set to, it's set at 0 right now. So I'm going to turn this to 1. As you can see in the material preview, it's looking all shiny now. So if I was to render this again, you should see a big difference. Okay, so we're seeing the sun highlighted now, so it's definitely looking shiny. Now what we can do to improve this is to go and add some other maps in. The next one I'm going to add is the bump map. So this is just the normal bump that we're going to be using, not the 3D Studio Max one, but the Corona version. So I'll go down here to Corona, load in Corona normal, and I'm going to load my image in here. Go to the top again, choose bitmap, choose my normal map. Now, as you can see up here, it's been updated, however, it doesn't look correct. So in order to correct normals inside of 3D Studio Max, we have to do basically flip the green channel. So if you click this, that will correct it. And next, we also want to add gamma to input. And there we go. Now it's looking correct up there. So make sure to click these two, and it will work correctly. So I'll render this out. Alright, there you go. So now that we're getting a good amount of both displacement and normals on this material here, now I'm going to go over here to the tone mapping section. And this is a really great feature because you can adjust the exposure. And then we can brighten the scene up, which is the most effective way to do it. But when I do that, you'll notice that the background is really getting blown out. And there are a couple of ways that we can compensate for this. One is to adjust the highlight compress here. So if I drag this up, you'll see the background is starting to be less bright. The problem with this is that it does start to affect the highlights on the objects in your scene as well. And so I would recommend blending this value with filmic highlights. So if I drag filmic highlights up, you'll notice the background is it's becoming a little washed out, especially when I bring it all the way to a value of 1. However, when I adjust the highlight compress down again, There you go. You'll see it's balancing out nicely. So it's really just a matter of finding the right balance of highlight compress and filmic highlights, and that will make the background look correct. All right, cool. That's looking quite nice at the moment. These other options here are pretty obvious, like contrast, saturation. However, I think one of the coolest options is actually the lookup table here. Now, if I was to click this, you'll notice it changed very slightly. And basically what it's doing is it's using various different film grading. And if I was to go to the camera section here, where it says the lookup table, you can choose between a number of different film stocks that you want to utilize in order to change the look of your image. So these are very powerful. A lot of very different looks here. And this is really just a matter of personal preference. But for right now, I'll just go with the very top one, which was the default setting. Okay. Now some additions here. You can also adjust like the bloom. So you can increase the bloom intensity if you want. There you go. You can see it really happening there. Glare intensity and threshold. So yeah, these are just really nice ways to enhance the image to make it look more realistic. You can see the differences there. All right, cool. So that's pretty much it for just post-processing. Now let's get back to adjusting the texture again. Okay. Now the next thing I want to load in are just the remaining maps, basically the color reflection glossiness. So I'll load in the reflection glossiness. Okay. Go up here, select the gloss map. And going into reflection, I'll load the reflection in, which is this one right here. Now, an important thing to remember in 3D Studio Max with polygon textures, you need to invert the reflection map. So just going down here to output, just hit invert. There we go. Then it will appear correctly. And then the last thing is just the diffuse color. There it is right there. Okay, let's give this a render to see how it looks. All right, there you go. That's pretty much it. These materials were just designed to just be loaded in and work. So as long as you make the adjustments for 3D Studio Max that I've already shown you, then you should have your material work immediately. You can see the sections here that where the gloss map is working on the rougher sections. And then it's more mirror-like in these sections here, and that's just the way the material is designed. Now just looking back at some of the other options here, we'll see if there's anything else that we can adjust. One cool thing, if you want the tiles to stick out a little bit more, you can actually go down here to displacement and set the max level from 1 to something a little higher, like 5. Going up here, I can copy this image to the max frame buffer. So we have that, and then I'll just hit render on this. We can just compare them. And there you go. So if you compare like the edges right here to this one, you can see that this one is definitely sticking out more. And again, it comes down to your personal preferences. I would probably go with a value between 1 and 5, just to get something that's not quite as pronounced as that. So maybe, 2.5. And let's see if there's anything else that we can adjust here. There's no refraction on this. The Fresnel is, this is a good default value for Fresnel. I can play around with this a bit. I wouldn't go much beyond like 1.7, but let's give it a try. If I was to put it to like 2, render this out. Okay, so you can see it's much more shiny now and reflective in the center, which is, we don't really want that because that's not realistic. So I think the value set out was pretty good. I'll go to maybe 1.6, try this out, and render again. And as you can see as well, the displacement, yeah, I think that's a nice displacement between the default value and what I'd set it to before. All right, and another cool thing is actually as it's rendering, you can adjust the values here. So if you're bored while waiting for it to complete its samples, then you can just adjust it to something that's really nice. So yeah, I think that's a really cool result. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next video.